That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It is Commissioner Cooper, and it's Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. I hope your stomachs are a little empty, but get your leftovers out. Come kick back, relax with us, because we got week 13 to talk about. I mean, we got some big, you got either playoffs are coming up or you're going into your playoffs. There's a lot going on this week. So we're here to break it on down for you. We'll take a look at the Thanksgiving games. And of course, Brian Scott from the Injury List podcast is in to go over injuries. Well, it might not be time for any more turkey, but it's time for TSS Fantasy.
Yeah! Here we go!
It's time for TSS Fantasy.
It is Commissioner Cooper.
I could do a whole 49ers show right now.
Ready to rock out with my gavel out.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Don't sleep on my Patriots,
I think we're ready for football. Is that
Joe Burrow with this wrist? I'm curious.
I find you guilty of all charges.
although you consistent force in this
I please develop some really great
DJ Chuck Bass.
This guy has been doing it ever since coming off.
I hope you like the web.
He's made 4 targets in all 3 of the last games.
Scored a touchdown this year.
You know, the great thing about being a football player is you don't have to take a shower to go to work.
There it is.
Might have to take a shower after watching that Dolphin game last night. Welcome in, of course, Justin Jesus Herrera. Welcome into the studio, sir.
Can the Chiefs get any luckier? Like, any luckier? Like, holy shoot. This entire season, they should probably be like 6-5, but somehow they are 11-1. And I just don't understand it. But anyways, I am going to quit bitching about the Chiefs as the rest of the league bitches about the Chiefs. And I'm ready for the leftovers, man. I'm a leftover type of guy, Commish. I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm a leftover type of guy, man. I don't like to leave the fridge with leftovers. I'm like a freaking scorched earth guy. I go straight for it. I go, let's get that leftover turkey. Let's make those sandwiches with the cranberry sauce and a little bit of gravy with the mashed potatoes in there. Sometimes you throw some stuffing in there if it reheats real well. Yeah, let's go. Leftovers is my type of thing. This is my type of show.
My wife always makes a leftover pot pie for my dad. So it's like, a bunch of the leftovers put in a little pot pie. It's actually pretty good. I did have a leftover sandwich today. Even include a little cranberry sauce in there. I like that add that in there. But I will say I am not a leftovers guy. Honestly, like I didn't want to have that tonight. Like get it out of my face. We're done. I'm done with it. I ate it once. I'm done. Let's go. Let's get the show started. Let's pay the bills, of course. Of course. Go to Underdog Fantasy. Use the promo code TSS. We're going to double your deposit up to $100. Lots of great daily fantasy stuff to play. I actually had a good kick down on social media. Decent DFS lineup for Thanksgiving Day. Got Caleb Williams in there, Rico Dowdle, Josh Jacobs. I had a few other guys. The Cowboys D played well, so it actually.
You had Keenan Allen on there too, which a lot of people not known about. 2 touchdowns. That was a really good call.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we're always guessing. So I think that's right on Thanksgiving. Also, don't forget, go to Pro Am Belts. If you're looking for some championship bling for your fantasy champion, look no further, of course, than Pro Am Belts. And, of course, if you're watching on YouTube, do us a huge solid. Give us a like, a comment. Got fantasy questions, bring them in there. Little things stopping you from doing it. Big things popping for us when you do. So, of course, we appreciate it. All right, let's start things out as always on Friday with a little news. Well, all the news is about Thanksgiving and about those Thanksgiving games, of course. So we'll bring up the first one. We'll just go in order. I was just going to rip the Band-Aid off the Dolphin game because that ended up being the game we thought this one was going to be. Detroit Lions hang on to defeat the Chicago Bears, and one of the worst last 30 seconds or whatever it was for time management was absolutely ridiculous. Caleb Williams ended up with 256 yards and 3 TDs, of course. So, of course, he had a decent game. He actually was tied with Swift as the leading rusher as well. He only had 4 carries but he made 39 yards of it. which is exactly how much Swift had as well. So we know DJ Moore got in the end zone, 8 receptions, 97 yards and TD, and Keenan Allen, 5 receptions, 73 yards and 2 TDs as well. On the Lions side, Jared Goff, 221, 2 TDs. Montgomery, that was what my biggest surprise, because I put Jahmyr Gibbs on that same lineup thinking he was going to be that sexy flex play. Should have switched it up. David Montgomery, 21 carries, 88 yards. Jahmyr Gibbs, as I mentioned before, 9 carries, 87 yards. So he did okay with his 9 carries, a little more effective, but they were feeding Montgomery. Little payback, I guess, for the Bears. Amon St. Brown, 5 receptions, 73 yards. He led the way with reception and yards, but of course, Laporta had the 2 TDs, so made up for his non-target filled game. So what do you think of the Bears and Lions? Oh, you're on mute again. Wait, before you go, Kevin Wilson, happy Thanksgiving to you, the professor of Belly Up Sports. Glad to see you're checking in. Happy Thanksgiving to you and yours, my friend. We always love Kevin over here. All right, go ahead. What are you talking
about? So I'm happy to say that Matty Eberflus is officially a free agent as far as a coach. It only took 2 seasons and 6 straight losses with one of the better roster builds he's ever had to finally get that done. But, I think that it needed to happen. They need to move on. This team is obviously not going to be a playoff team, but, they showed pretty frequently that they're a very good team. They just kind of need the guidance. They need the clock management, like you said. And they kind of just need somebody behind the wheel who's maybe been there. This could be maybe a nice stop for Bill Belichick if he ever wants to come back to the league. This is a team that's got a lot of veterans on it. It's got a really good rookie quarterback on it, and has got a nice defense behind it. But not trying to get Bill Belichick back in the league. He's obviously very happy with his job with Pat McAfee and the rest of ESPN. But I will say this. I totally agree with you. I thought Jahmyr Gibbs was going to take over this entire backfield. I mean, the dude was, every time he touched the ball, he was ripping off a freaking, 9-10 yard rush. Like, I think he ripped off like a 15-yarder at one point. Like, the dude was just money when you gave him the ball. I don't know why they gave Montgomery 21 touches to him only 10. They usually mix him in with a passing game as well. That seemed to be effective in this game. Whatever. My fantasy dreams and hopes will die with Jahmyr Gibbs. So whatever. Fuck you, Dan Campbell. But yeah, overall, it was the funniest game of the actual afternoon, and it had to come at the very end. Fourth quarter was money, but before that, it seemed like the Lions were just going to run away with another one.
Yeah, I mean, I was helping the wife out doing the cooking and helping stuff out. Of course, I had the game on, and the reason I got up so quick is I was like, this is a blowout anyway. And then I'm turning around like, whoa, what's going on here? Like, yeah, so the Bears did a good job coming back. I think, honestly, I really do think that was Dan Campbell. And remember, Montgomery didn't get a lot of carries last week. And I think maybe he was like, we're going to let Jahmyr kind of chill this game and let David Montgomery kill his old team. I mean, that's just only thought process I could think of, because I was really surprised by that. But either way, I think at the end of the day, the message from this game is don't worry about Jahmyr Gibbs. He's going to be fine going forward. All right, let's go Giants at Cowboys, 27-20. It was a little more interesting than I thought. Drew Lock ended up getting in there, 178 yards and an interception. Also, the same thing. Their number 1 rush attack, too, for the Giants. Boy, did they miss Saquon. 4 carries for 57 yards and a TD. Tyron Tracy got in there as well with 32 yards and a TD. And Malik Neighbors, 8 receptions, 69 yards. I said it all season. Like prior to the season, I was not a Malik Neighbors guy. I know he was hot early, but the reason I kept saying it was because of the QB situation. We just don't know, so I feel like I can pat myself on the back on that. 22 carries for Rico Dowdle, 112 yards and a TD. So Rico Dowdle really showed out. Avante Turbin, I just want to make sure I said that right, was their leading receptionist with 4 receptions for 53 yards. We saw Brandon Cooks get in the end zone as well. At least I didn't really realize he was still around. What'd you think of this matchup?
It was a snore fest. It's funny how it happens. Cooper Rush goes for 250 yards against, I think it was the the Commanders last week and like 300 yards against the Houston Texans, right? You think, oh, okay, those are two playoff teams. He should absolutely destroy the Giants. He gets in with the Giants and doesn't have to do a damn thing because Rico Dowdell's like, hold my beer right here, son. They're not going to score on us. Don't worry about it. So it was really a good thing to do was put in, like you said, the defense and put in Dowdell because those were the ones that controlled the entire game for the Cowboys. And they got you your points fantasy-wise. But, I got to say this. The Giants, I know we got a Giants fan coming up, but the Giants are really one of the most miserable organizations I've ever seen. And, I know they're neighbors with the Jets, which could be their counterpart in the AFC. But when is this team going to ever just like go, okay, we got to get back into this situation here. We were once a Super Bowl team. We once took down the dynasty twice. When are we going to get our freaking mindset back into, let's get into winning. Let's not go after a running back with the 6th pick in the draft. Let's actually build through the line. Let's get to the trenches. Let's get a quarterback that we can trust. And that's not like we look like a cheap team and penny pinch and get rid of our quarterback just so we don't have to pay him $23 million of an injury guarantee. So I'm ready for what Brian's got to say with that. But I just, to be honest with you, like, it was just such a bad showing that I was like, I found myself rooting for the Cowboys just to get the Giants off my television.
Boy, Brian's just like licking his chops, I think, to get in here. So I won't waste too much time. But just real quick, Kevin said they did that. He's got a phone line to Dan Campbell. Apparently, he did that because Montgomery's on his fantasy team. And then he asked, do you trust Dowdle going forward? And I will say, I do, but then I don't. Like, it's one of those matchup based things. They obviously last week used him a lot as well. So they're obviously leaning on the running game since they're so inept, I guess, at quarterback. So I think it's matchup based, but I do kind of trust him a little. They're feeding him the ball, and I think more volume play than anything. Obviously, when they're going up against good run D, don't trust him as much. But I think that's somebody you can at least put them in your flex spot in your fantasy run here. So that's what I think you can do. All right, let me rip this damn Band-Aid off and talk real quick about the Packers and the Dolphins. I don't really care what the final score was because I don't really want to talk about this because I'm really freaking aggravated. It's the same thing every damn year. Every time there is a big game, they don't show up, period. That's all there is to it. Don't worry about the cold. Cold had nothing to do with last night. Tua was a little off. Maybe he was a little too windy. I don't really know. He was a little off in the beginning, got back to it later on. 365 yards and 2 TDs. Not a bad night at all. Again, where'd the running game go? See, that was what I talked about on Sunday or whenever we talked about this game. And I said, that's the reason I think the Dolphins would win because Tua while he was out, this team became a running team. And here we are in the cold and the elements thinking, okay, this is what, but guess what? They did 5 carries for Mostert, 7 for Achane. I realized like it wasn't working all that well, but you got to stick to it. Hello. All right, let me get off my soapbox here. We saw Tyreek Hill get in the end zone, thankfully, last night. 6 receptions, 83 yards. Jonnu Smith, one of those great pickups that happened during the season. 10 receptions, 113 yards, not too shabby. We know Achane did get the 56 yards, 8 receptions in the TD, and Jalen Waddle. They're kind of reusing that short yard pass as their running game. Jordan Love, 274, 2 TDs as well. Josh Jacobs had a good night. He only had 19 carries, 43 yards in the TD, but got that big reception towards the end. So he ended up with 4 receptions with 74 yards. Tucker Kraft, 6 receptions, 78 yards. And Jaden Reed went the Laporta route, 3 receptions, 24 yards, and 2 TDs. All right. Please don't waste our time on this, but what are your thoughts?
No, my only thought is when you have a good team, when you're playing a good team, you got to score every single time. Doesn't matter if it's a field goal or a touchdown, you got to score every single time. I think the Dolphins left points out there trying to figure out what their offense is going to look like in this cold. I think they should have, like you said, been willing to just overload, pound the rock, double tight ends, just get it going, and then get everything else flowing along with it. Jonnu Smith is obviously a hell of an addition that you guys made. I hope it doesn't go to waste because I hope you do make the playoffs. Somebody in TSS has to make the playoffs. But, I definitely see what you're saying there. Big game situations are not the Dolphins' best friend.
Yeah, and not mine either. I mean, I literally went in there. Everyone was like, "What?" Talking to Thanksgiving. What do you think the Dolphins' chance are tonight? And I mean, I wanted to be so optimistic, and I did make that call that they were going to run the foot, but I was wrong, and they lost. So whatever. I'm done talking about them. All right, let's go on to the Friday night delight. The Chiefs 19-17. This is one of those I also thought was going to be a blowout, at least even from the start, even from the first half. I was like, all right, well, Chiefs are going to come out. But man, the Raiders just kept coming back. And that, I think, going forward, the Chiefs got some questions on their offensive line. I think that there's no doubt about that. Aiden O'Connell, 340 yards, 2 TDs. Ooh, he'd have been nice for your DFS play this week, coming in at a cheap price. Sincere McCormick was their leading rusher, 12 receptions, 64 yards. Brock Bowers, 10 receptions, 140 yards, and 1 TD. Man, you're happy about picking up Brock Bowers. Jacoby Myers, 6 receptions for 97 yards. And Trey Tucker, doing what Trey Tucker does, bust a big one. 1 reception, 58 yards and a TD. Pat Mahomes looked a lot better, 306 yards and a TD. But again, it's hard to look good when you're laying on your back all day. 7 carries for Pacheco. So you saw him have that deep run later. So starting to see him getting back into it. 4 receptions for Hopkins, 90 yards, had that one nice one-handed grab, but couldn't get it in the end zone. So he's had some, he was looking good out there. Travis Kelce, 7 receptions, 68 yards, and Noah Gray, 4 receptions, 58 yards, and Xavier Worthy also chimed in as well. All right, so what do you think of this? I know you started out talking about how lucky the Chiefs are.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to continue to pound that narrative because, to be honest with you, last year they said that the second Raiders game was a turning point for them, right? That's when they got mean. That's when they got, all right, we're going to be Super Bowl champions. You think that would be the Buffalo game last week when Buffalo goes in there and plays with them and really kind of beats them up. That wasn't really too much of a game from a lot of people's perspectives. Yeah, they were in it late, but were they really in it to a point where it was like real close? No, they still walked away with a double-digit win. So when I look at this, I go, this is a game you needed to go out there and prove I can put my foot on the neck of people and really just be like, I can snap it at any point in time. And they didn't. The Raiders are, a lowly team that have gone through, I think, 3 quarterbacks at this point. So it is one of those games where you're just like, okay, the Chiefs can be beat. And I think a lot of teams, the Ravens, the Bills, the Lions, they're going to look at this game and go, okay, this is not the double champ that we thought we were going to be facing. This is a team that's very vulnerable and very winnable in the later aspects of the season. So, you know what? And I hope it happens because, God, I would hate to see the Chiefs win 3 in a row. That would just make me put my conspiracy hat on and go, this thing is rigged. Everything is rigged. And nobody really wants to see that. So I think that, this is definitely an awakening for the rest of the league.
So I know real quick, because I know Brian's like, bro, like you said 9 o'clock, bro. It's 9:20. So let me get Brian here. But before, I just want to close out by saying you brought up Antonio Pierce before, and I found it interesting after the game. That was one of the post press conferences post stories. They were saying how it's up in the air about Antonio Pierce's future, which I find surprising because that definitely ain't his fault. But I will say, to your point, talk about I think a great fit if they do let him go would be Chicago for Antonio Pierce. That's where I think he would really fit in, especially with the personalities of the team and all that. I just think that's a good spot for him. If that ends up being the case, I just don't see why they let him go over that. By the way, Kevin Wilson says close games are the Chiefs' calling card this year. He's never bought into the point spread. Yeah, I agree. I mean, you can't buy into any. I mean, they've been struggling. They look at Carolina. Like, I think I don't remember what the spread was, but it was pretty large and barely beat Carolina. So, the Chiefs are definitely struggling. No doubt about it, and definitely can be had. But guess what? They keep winning games still. It's crazy enough. All right, let's bring him in. I know he's got something to say about them Giants. Let's bring Brian Scott in from the injured list and talk about this week's injuries.
A.J. Dillon just went into the medical tent a moment ago.
Brian Scott from the That's fine. Bro, you're feeling. I think it's maybe it's the TSS curse this year because it's going. Dolphins struggling, 49ers, Giants, Jets. It's crazy. Welcome in, my friend, and I hope you enjoyed your Thanksgiving.
I did, and thank you guys for having me. And on this somber mood coming from the injured list here, as Justin so eloquently pointed out, my Giants are freaking terrible. And there's really nothing good that came out of the game against the Cowboys, much like nothing good has come out of the season thus far. They lost Dexter Lawrence for the year after he dislocated his elbow. You wonder why they're not good, even though they have Dexter Lawrence. They had a top 5 defensive end in Thibodeau. They've got a pretty good stud cornerback duo going right now in what's his name, Dubin or whatever, and the other guy there, whatever the hell his name is. Who cares anyway? But they have a lot of good guys at various positions, but the problem, and Justin mentioned this, is their offensive line is horrendous. And that becomes ever more clear with each starting quarterback they try to throw back there and hope that something good is going to come of it. If you look at just how dominant their offensive line was back in like 2007 and 2011 compared to this team now, I mean, it's night and day. Evan O'Neal was doing 360-degree pirouettes last night playing right tackle because he had no clue where Micah Parsons was as soon as the ball was snapped. And it was ridiculous, laughable, in fact. So it's no surprise that Daniel Jones wanted out of there when given the opportunity. You can't really fault him for that. And Tom Brady, like, criticizing him during the broadcast after his LA Raiders were actually like talking about maybe signing him, and Brady is like criticizing him for leaving the team. Come on, Tom. You never were put in that position as an NFL quarterback, because once you got your opportunity, you made the most of it. You never had to look back twice. So you can't really compare that to his, whatever Tom Brady says at this point. You can't compare that to Daniel Jones' situation. But anyway, I'm going to get off my soapbox because we got a bunch of injuries to cover. And there's been a bunch of changes over the last few days, including a lot of outs. J.K. Dobbins with a knee injury. Anytime you hear J.K. Dobbins in a knee injury, run for the hills, drop him like a heavyweight, because it's more than likely he's going to be out. And it sounds like this is going to be an extended absence. I do not think this is going to be just a week thing. This is probably going to be potentially a weekly thing, maybe even a season-ending thing. They haven't gone into much detail about what the injury is. My guess is it's probably that surgically reconstructed knee again, which is a problem. And that's one of the things I always cautioned everybody about at the beginning of the year with him. You got to be really careful. So he's out. Austin Eckler dealing with a concussion. He's officially been listed as out. Josh Downs got injured last weekend with a shoulder injury. He's officially been listed as out as well. Cedric Tillman is dealing with a concussion. He still has not gotten back on the field. The team plays on Monday Night Football, so there is a small chance if he can get onto the practice field, he can clear the protocol, but it doesn't look good thus far. Dalton Kincaid has officially again been listed as out, his second week now with the knee issue. A lot of questionables, and a lot of these are actually up in the air as well. Trevor Lawrence with his non-throwing shoulder AC joint sprain. A lot of people are saying, why would you throw him out there? And I'm saying, why the hell not? This is kind of like Daniel Jones. Let's see what you've got back there in Trevor Lawrence, because it doesn't look like he's going to be a franchise quarterback either. And it's his non-throwing shoulder. It's an AC joint sprain that supposedly was mild. So you might as well put him out there. He's been out since week 9. He's returned to practice, limited, but they're saying he's going to play. Justin, I don't know. Your 49ers all season have been very mixed with their injury reports, very unclear as to what the hell they're doing. And no difference here with Brock Purdy. He apparently had some limited action. Tom Pelissero said he was full, but then all the other reports are saying he was limited. He didn't do a lot of throwing again. Despite these reports, they're saying that he's going to be questionable, and they're actually expecting that he's going to play. So who the hell knows? Might be a true game time decision. Your guess is as good as mine on this one. I can't say either way what's going to happen with him. Brian Robinson Jr., good news for him. He got in several limited practice sessions, including a full practice on Friday today. So he sounds like he's trending toward playing again with that sprained ankle. And now with Austin Eckler out, it's very likely that he'll suit up. Breece Hall with knee soreness. Again, we're not sure if this is that surgically reconstructed knee, but it sounds like they took a precautionary day off on Wednesday. He returned to practice Thursday and Friday, and sounds like he's going to be good to go. Devonta Smith dealing with this hamstring issue, second week now. He was limited yesterday and today. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you. But he told reporters that he's not sure if he's going to play, even though they're saying questionable. And he did get into practice today. He's still not sure if he's actually going to be ready. So it sounds like this might be one of those things where he tests it out and warm up before they make a true decision on his status. So pay attention there. Darnell Mooney coming off this Achilles injury. He had a bye week to get better, and it sounds like that worked well for him. He returned to full practice yesterday, told reporters he's feeling good, so we should see him make his return. And that's all I got for the list tonight, but if you guys have any questions, now's your time.
That was my biggest one, was Devonta Smith, and I believe that's a hamstring too, so
Yes.
That's one of those that no matter, if he's good, I'd be nervous. Those are one of those weird ones that, I had one, I just myself having one when I was in the military and thinking, years later, like it was getting re-aggravated. So that's a weird injury. One of those things that you have to wait. It's really just time on those injuries, and I hope they don't rush him back. Although being on my fantasy team, it's such a juicy matchup. Like I'm like, please be back for this one. But I could just see him streaking down the field one time, and then I think that happened even to Mike Evans this year. Just came hobbled up on it. So that was like my biggest question. Justin, you have anything for Brian?
Nope.
All right, well, Brian, we'll see you Sunday anyway. So I'm sure we'll have lots of questions for you there. Thank you so much once again. Where can we find you on social media and the times that you're not, of course, on TSS?
Yeah, I'll be doing a bunch of updates on X at Injured List Pod. You can follow me on Facebook and Instagram, the Injured List Podcast, and of course the website, theinjuredlist.com. I'll have some stuff on there, including my past podcast episodes. So hopefully we'll have a new one coming out within the next week or two here. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah, and I do have, I apologize, I have a halfway announcement tonight. We will be on the radio coming up next week up in northeastern part of the United States, and I just don't have that. And so you can find Brian on there too. So you can check us out always on there. We're still almost getting that done, so I just don't have the full details yet. But make sure you check out Bri, follow along, and go to the Inside the Medical Tent blog. And of course, whatever I just said. All right, Bri, thank you so much. I'll see you on Sunday, my brother. We're going to hear from our friends at NeuroGuard.
Dr. Michael Hutchison has harnessed the latest in neuromuscular dentistry and impact technology to develop a mouthguard that does more than protect. It enhances. NeuroGuard Plus isn't just a mouthguard. By focusing on the jaw's physiological position, it provides an added layer of neuroprotection, significantly reducing the risk of sports-related neurological injuries. All athletes should be using a custom mouthguard designed to their bite position. NeuroGuard Plus was created as a means to maintain your physiological jaw position regardless of your bite. The appliance is designed to optimize your upper-lower jaw relationship to improve your strength, your balance, your oxygen intake, and drastically lower your chance of a concussion. Independent studies have shown that the NeuroGuard Plus will provide you with improvement to both upper and lower body strength. The same improvements were not present with a common mouthguard. Over 6,500 athletes have used the NeuroGuard Plus. Dr. Hutchison is happy to say that the amount of diagnosed concussions is 0.2%. The NeuroGuard Plus offers athletes, coaches, and parents an advantage to keep their players safe on the field. If you or your child actively participates in athletics, they need to be protected from the dangers of repetitive head trauma. Get your NeuroGuard Plus mouthguard today. Click on the link and use code ILPSports for 10% discount on your purchase.
I know I don't even participate in sports. Sometimes I feel like I'm being a mouth guard. All right, guys. Well, let's get on with it. Obviously, the gummies are kicking in because I forgot what I had said to Brian. So let's break it on down.
Break down.
Bring it on down.
Break down.
Bring it on down. Bring it on down.
Oh, Fred probably out there somewhere on a Friday night breaking it down. Let's go with an epic matchup. Houston at Jacksonville. Houston against fantasy QBs are 17th, 6th against running backs, 25th against receivers, 4th against tight ends. Jacksonville, dead last against QB. CJ Stroud, where you at? 31st against running backs. Joe Mixon, where you at? 30th against receivers, Nico Collins. Tank Dell, where you at? Tight ends, 26, Dalton Schultz, where you at? All right, anyway, what do you think, Justin? Guys who like and don't like.
I'm just going to stick to the big three. I'm going to stick with Stroud, Collins, and for sure Joe Mixon. And that's it. I like Tank Dell. I think he's got a ton of talent, but he has just done nothing for me in fantasy. And if I'm looking to pick up that important win, I'm not going to put it on the back of Tank Dell. He's proven nothing to me this year. And then on the other side, Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence goes. I'm going to go Trevor Lawrence. I have no problem with that. Trevor Lawrence in a 2 QB league, fire him up. Travis Etienne, Tank Bigsby is the biggest discussion you'll have because you really don't know who's going to be. Literally projections wise, they're both in one of my leagues where it's not PPR. They're both at about 7.7 points projection wise. So I'm looking at it people are thinking it's going to be an even split. I tend to agree with them because that's kind of how it's been all season long. So if you have a better option, I'd probably go with that. And then receivers, Brian Thomas Jr., locked and loaded, and Evan Ingram, locked and loaded. And I think that's where I cut it off.
Tank Dell, I could see. I wouldn't ride him. Like you said, I have him on my own fantasy team, so it's been a tough ride. But I definitely could see him at a flex play this week, only because of the matchup. And I like what you said. Trevor Lawrence thought it was funny with the 2 QB league. But the facts are, like today, just as a pure example, the reason I mentioned earlier doing that DFS play is I had Caleb Williams as the QB because he was low. And the reason I, of course, thought in my head is that the fact is that the Lions were going to be up and Caleb Williams was going to have to throw them back in this game. So kind of in the same respect, I kind of feel this way about Trevor Lawrence, that I feel like Texans may get up early. Although with that tough run game, you may see a lot of Joe Mixon later. But Trevor Lawrence is if he goes, he's gonna have to throw them into this football game. So I do like what you're saying there. It could be.
The Texans defense has been very unimpressive. I mean, think about it. They let Anthony Richardson back into a game. They made him look good for a week after he had been shat on by everybody. They made him put out a 29-point performance. I mean, they just have not been the team that we expected them to be. And talk about a team that's kind of getting lucky. They got lucky that they found Joe Mixon on such a cheap price because that guy has been a workhorse.
It's been the resurgence of the running back this year. And again, that's why I never go away from that strategy. I don't care what any of those experts tell you. Always draft running backs first. Don't listen to that bullshit. It doesn't make any sense. I've always done it. I don't care if it's PPR, whatever. That's what you do. Those are your workhorses. And it's finally coming back a little bit. And to your point, Texans are soft against receivers. They're 25th, like I said, in the league, and they are 6th against running backs. So, like Justin said, temper your expectations for the Jacksonville running backs, but you may find some luck with and some stuff. Shut up there, somebody must be knocking at the door. Anyway, yeah, so temper your expectations on the running backs, but you'll see probably some decent volume from the receivers and Trevor Lawrence because I feel like they're going to have to get in this ballgame somehow. Speaking of Anthony Richardson, Colts at New England. Colts are 18th against running back, or excuse me, against quarterbacks, 28th against running backs. They're 19th against receivers and 27th against tight ends. New England, 19th against QBs, 20th against running backs, 23rd against receivers, and 18th against tight ends. All right, so what do you think? Guys you like and don't like?
So, like I said, I'm going to keep it short with this one as well. I like Anthony Richardson. JT seems like a tremendous bounce back game for JT. I feel like they're just going to feed him all day long in this game. And then Michael Pittman. Last week, Michael Pittman made a lot of strides with Anthony Richardson. It seems like they've been off the entire season. But guess what? 5 catches and 91 yards will get you right back in the good graces of your quarterback. That and Josh Downs being down is going to be a little bit of a boost, I think, for Pittman. And then on the outside, I think it's been kind of a toss-up between Adonai Mitchell and Alec Pierce as of late. I would probably go with Alec Pierce because he's been more reliable for a longer period of time. He might be a decent flex this week. This Patriots team on the other side, I don't want to pick a wide receiver. I don't think they want to pick a wide receiver. I think they want it to be T. Higgins season already for them. I will go Drake May, though, because Drake May, I don't know if you know this. Drake May actually has the best yards per carry of any quarterback any rookie quarterback. I'm sorry, rookie quarterback in the league right now.
Hey, wow!
So
But still
yeah,
impressive.
9 yards per carry. He's doing it. He's getting the job done. He is not a bad QB2 if you're in a pinch. And then I think Ramondre is probably where I cut it as far as the rest of the offense. Actually, no, I'm sorry. I lied. Ramondre and Hunter Henry is where I cut it as far as the rest of the offense goes.
Yeah, like you said, I got no faith in any of those receivers in New England. But like you said, Drake May does end up because of the rushing attack, ends up being an okay play here, but the running back. So I like Ramondre Stevenson. Colts are very soft on the run line. Defensive line. So I think you're right. Ramondre Stevenson could have a decent day, although they might find themselves in situations where they can't. And great Alex Pierce call. I think he is the guy that's going to step up, and it makes me mad as you're saying it because I was like, man, that's who I wanted to put my DFS, and I totally forgot. All right, let's go. The Chargers go to Atlanta. This would be an interesting matchup. Chargers are 16th against QBs, 5th against running backs, 13th against receivers, and 12th against tight ends. Atlanta, 26th against QBs, 14th against running backs, 29th against receivers, and 19th against tight ends. So, guys, you like and don't like in this one?
For the Chargers side, plug in Herbert, plug in QJ Quentin Johnston. I think this is a nice game for Lab McConkey again in this gun. Will Dissly, big country, man. I was talking about big country all last week. I think you should continue to put big country in your lineup. And then, as far as the running back position goes, here's a sneaky DFS pick for you. Just because the last time J.K. Dobbins went down, this guy came out of nowhere, caught himself a touchdown out of the backfield, and I think Jim Harbaugh has been waiting to get him back in the lineup. Kamani Vidal, look out for this guy. I know Gus Edwards is going to be the primary guy, but I'm just saying look out for this guy as like that outside threat, that maybe Darren Sproles threat for the LA Chargers in this one. And then, on the other side of the Falcons, man, I think I still want to play Kirk Cousins, even though he had a horrendous game the last one. And,
but not to interrupt, but that is why he'll have a good one this one. He is the biggest. He is literally Space Mountain of the NFL, up and down, up and down. And it's at home. I like Kirk Cousins in this matchup a lot. Even though the Chargers have a good pass D, I still think it's going to be one of those Kirk Cousins games in this one. But my bad.
You're absolutely right. And you brought to light the point that he is so up and down. Plus the Ravens, probably one of the biggest threats the Chargers have faced, kind of put it on them on offense. Like that offense really put them on notice last week. I think Bijan Robinson is not as effective this week, but I think all the receiving options get back to where they were. I think you look at Drake London getting back to where he was catching touchdowns. And Kyle Pitts, if he would just catch a goddamn touchdown, he would be a top 5 tight end. Come on, Kyle. We've been waiting for it. We've been calling for it. We've been drafting you for it. Let's get a touchdown in this game. And then, of course, your boy Darnell Mooney. I'm not taking him out of my lineup ever until next season. Maybe not even in next season. I might just keep him permanently in my lineup. He's so damn good so far this year.
Yeah, it really is. It's not nice that he stepped up in this offense. I know he's been with the Chicago Bears like forever and drowning over there, so it's nice for him to step up this season. All right, let's go to the one that makes me want to puke. The Seahawks at the Jets. Seahawks are 14th against QBs, 17th against running backs, 16th against receivers, 20th against tight ends. Jets 15th against QBs, 10th against running backs, numero uno against receivers, and 5th against tight ends. What say you guys? You like and don't like?
I'll start with the Jets on this one. I don't mind Aaron Rodgers as a QB2, if that is still the guy who's going to be there. And then Breece Hall, if he suits up, the run game is very, very juicy when it comes to the Seahawks. So I would not be surprised if he gets back on his high horse and gets back to getting 100 yards in this game. The receivers is where it's kind of a little bit fishy for me. I think you're better off taking Garrett Wilson in this one than Devontae Adams. I know Devontae's going to get peppered regardless, but I think Garrett Wilson has the better matchup. Freak Woolen will probably be all over Devontae. Freak Woolen is their all-pro from last year. I think you want to get the second guy who I think is that still DJ Reed? Might be somebody else. But anyways. But anyways, no, I think DJ Reed is with the Jets.
I'll look it up while you're doing
Anyways, doesn't matter because if you can't remember his damn name, that's probably because he hasn't made a name for himself. So I'm going to go with Garrett Wilson over Devontae Adams in this one. And then flip it over to the Seahawks side. I like Geno this week. Another 300-yard performance possibly. Kenneth Walker, K9's definitely a go on this one. And then DK Metcalf has been in and off the injury block. And since that, the ascension of who, Coop? Say his name.
I'm just JSN.
Jackson Smith and Jibba has been a huge player since DK Metcalf has been on and off again stint on the injury list. I look for him to continue to be a huge player in this offense. And hot take, I think DK Metcalf is going to score under 10 points today. Or not today, but on Sunday.
So if you haven't watched this on Sunday, a couple of Sundays ago, I told someone to drop JSN. So that's why I keep continuing to hear that. Yeah, I'm a dummy. All right. So yeah, again, I don't even want to talk about this game because it makes me want to puke. Let's go Titans at Washington. Titans against fantasy QBs are 22nd. They're 11th against running backs, 4th against receivers, 8th against tight ends. Washington, 20th against QBs, 15th against running backs, 17th against receivers, and 14th against tight ends. Titans coming off a big win last week. Washington coming off their loss. What do you think? Who wins? Oh, no, I'm sorry. Not who wins. Give me guys you like and don't like.
Well, shit. Tighten up, man. The Titans came out of nowhere and pulled that one from the Texans last week. I mean, I'm not going to be the guy who goes out there and says start Will Levis in a QB1 league, but I'm going to say it might be okay in 2 QB leagues. If you're really struggling in penny pinching and you don't want to play Ramondre Stevenson in that super flex role, I would say Will Levis is all right. I was really impressed by Tony Pollard this year. He's just been bumping out 100-yard games like they're nothing. I know Spears is back. Don't look for Spears to really put up too much of a dent into Tony Pollard's take. He just, I don't know. I think a lot of people wanted Spears to be more than he is. He just hasn't fulfilled those duties this year. As far as Calvin Ridley, you want to talk about money on your DFS lineup every single week? Calvin Ridley's been money. I mean, she has been money with Rudolph, with Levis. The moment they got rid of Hopkins, they said, all right, 10 targets, automatically, write them in. Let's go. Let's go. Tighten up. Last week, Chigo Conquo caught a touchdown. I would not put too much value behind it as far as starting him or even putting him in DFS lineups. It was a nice little 70-yard catch, but that's really been his whole season so far. So I don't want to be going out there giving you the advice, hey, go play him, because I probably need to see a little bit more just like you. And then their second wide receiver. What's his name again, Coop?
You're not doing that to me, bro. I'm not doing it.
His name is Nick Westbrook Akina.
I already was going to go Inke. So.
We need to start memorizing that name because he keeps on popping up in the touchdown chart. I mean, this guy has 6 touchdowns in the last 7 games. He only gets targeted like 4 times a game, but guess what? He makes the most out of his opportunities. I think that this is a pretty safe bet, which means it's probably going to backfire and shoot me right in the face. I'm going to eat a lot of crow. but put him in as a flex, see what he does, because he's been bumping out good numbers for 6 straight weeks. And then on the other side, the Commanders like me some Brian Robinson Jr. Jaden Daniels, you just can't quit him because he puts out performances like last week, and you're like, God damn, best rookie in the class. And then Terry McLaurin, I think they're going to need to use him a lot in this game. Not revenge game, but return of the Zach Ertz possibly too. He's been Mr. Steady Eddie, and I'd like to see him get maybe a 20-point game in this one. But, I mean, outside of that, I don't think I have much hope in any other wide receivers. And you already said that Austin Eckler is going to be out with the concussion. So I think I'm good on both sides of that one.
Yeah, but you got it. I agree with the Jaden Daniels, Terry McLaurin. Just remember that this is a decent Titans defense. So, I mean, Washington has been struggling as of late, as a team anyway. Not to say the Titans are all that, because, the Texans still put up pretty decent points last week. But yeah, I still like the plays either way. And of course, Brian Robinson with no Austin Eckler are going to see a lot of volume there. So I like that as well. All right, let's go to Pittsburgh at Cincinnati. This one's like one of the most interesting ones for me for this weekend. Pittsburgh, number 1 against QBs, 12th against running backs, 6th against receivers, and 15th against tight ends. The Bengals, 30th against QBs, 8th against running backs. They're 22nd against receivers and 31st at tight end. What say you guys? You like and don't like?
This is what I call a flip the momentum game. This is where one team's trying to grab the momentum that the other team has. So they got to flip the momentum on this one. And on paper, it looks like Russell Wilson is a hell of a start in this game. I think he's good. I think that the Bengals are going to play their ass off on defense because they really need this game. I don't think you should start Russell Wilson this week. I think it's going to be a really tough game. They're in Cincinnati. I've been saying it for what do you say, like maybe 3 or 4 weeks straight. This is a must win for the Bengals. The Bengals need to win this game. The Bengals need to win this fucking game. If they don't win this game, they're probably essentially eliminated considering the division they're in right now. So Bengals need to win this game. And that's why you play Joe Burrow, obviously, Jamar Chase, obviously. Chase Brown, even though the matchup says don't play him, he's been getting a lot of targets. So, of course, you're going to play him in a PPR format. Maybe standard, you kind of go a little bit like maybe he's a flex. But who else are you going to play? Who do you have that's better on your roster? Chase Brown's been electric so far. I also return of the T. Higgins, load him up. And then on the Steelers side, like I said, Russ is going to be a no-go for me. I know a lot of people are going to say, what are you talking about? Did you just hear the commish 30th against the pass? What are you talking about? Get back to the eggnog and whiskey. You can't even say it right. No. It's just tea, everybody, I promise. But I'm going to say this. I think that George Pickens in a PPR format can have an okay day. Maybe a flex day.
Yeah, I mean, I somewhat disagree because I agree that I think the Bengals going to come out all cylinders. Going to see a lot of Joe Burrow throwing the ball down the field, and I think they will put up points. And I think Pittsburgh will have to, and Russell Wilson will have to throw themselves into this game, I think, a bit, or at least to keep up. So I disagree. I think Russell Wilson might be a decent play this week. And I mean, you got to put Pickens in there if that's the case. And then I think Pat Freiermuth obviously has a great matchup. The Bengals really bad against tight ends. So I disagree a tad on that side, but I do agree with the Bengals take. I think and Chase Brown as well. Cardinals at the Vikings. This one again I find interesting. Cardinals against fantasy QBs are 11th. They're 22nd against running backs, 18th against receivers, and 7th against tight ends. The Vikings are 12th against QBs, 3rd against running backs, 31st against receivers, and 9th against tight ends. So what say you guys? You like and don't like?
Trey McBride and Kyler Murray. I like that for the Cardinals. And Marvin Harrison Jr. I just can't trust him right now. I need playoff players. I just can't trust him right now. And then on the Vikings side, Sam Darnold, man. I mean, I feel like I've said that this guy's been up and down and up and down. You want to talk about Kirk Cousins? This guy's been up and down and up and down, but he's on his uptick right now. So I'm gonna go with Sam Darnold as a good pick. Obviously, JJ's your pick for wide receiver. And, I think Addison having his come out game last week has earned a spot on my roster as a flex, no doubt, for the next couple of games, because I got to see if that's true. I got to see if that's the guy they got in the first round pick out of Pittsburgh. If that guy is really going to be a game changer the way he was last week, I got to keep rolling with that. And then my boy Hawk for sure. I like Hawk. DJ Hawkinson, he has been absolutely masterful since coming back.
So I feel like the Vikings are regressing, honestly. I don't necessarily buy into I think TJ Hawkinson's got a tough matchup. I'm not buying into Sam Darnold. And I think they're going to have a tough go in this matchup. And I actually like Kyler Murray and I like Marvin Harrison Jr. on this. Like I said, Vikings are 31st against fantasy receivers. I don't see anywhere or anyone that can match up with him. I understand with the reliability thing, but I think matchup wise, this is going to play well into their hands. And we're going to see a nice Marvin Harrison Jr. day. So just throwing that out there. All right, let's go next. Rams at Saints. Rams are 13th against QBs, 24th against running backs, 20th against receivers, 24th against tight ends. The Saints, 10th against QBs, 25th against running backs, 26th against receivers, 17th against tight ends. What say you guys? You like and don't like?
I like Alvin Kamara, Marquez Valdes-Scantling. I think Taysom Hill is going to be fool's gold in this one. I don't think that he is going to hit it off. I mean, what are the chances of him hitting 3 touchdown games in back-to-back games, right? Right? With a wink and a nod. I think Marquez Valdes-Scantling, he's the truth in this offense because this offense is centered around what he does best, getting long and catching the pass from, let's face it, kind of like an aging gunslinger, but he can still gunsling. Derek Carr, no doubt about it. He can still throw it out there. And then on the other side is, who do they play? The Rams. Playing the Rams.
It's just tea.
It's just tea. It's just tea, a little ayahuasca tea, but it's just tea, right? But I'll tell you what, Stafford, he's looked impressive. Nakua has really blown away ever since coming back from that knee injury. You can't not start Cup, but it's sometimes getting a little bit tougher to start Kyron. I mean, this is the little chatter around the universe right now is Kyron Williams maybe getting his job checked next year because he's been kind of a tough start for a lot of fantasy players over these past couple of weeks. Now, I think he'll be fine this week. I don't think he's going to blow your socks off, but I don't think he's going to finish outside the top 24. Just throwing that out there. Maybe you need to start selling Kyron Williams because somebody else might be coming around the block to take his job from the draft.
Blake Corum, really?
Blake Corum? No, I don't think he's better.
just wondering. So you're 100% on liked everything you said, and I find it funny what you said about Taysom Hill because, as I said earlier, Kirk Cousins is the Space Mountain of the NFL. Well, if he's a Space Mountain, then Taysom Hill is the Thunder Mountain because now it's his second roller coaster ride you're getting on. Because some weeks, boy, that really is fun and it's exciting because you're getting off from the tight end position. But some weeks, you just standing in line waiting. So you ain't getting shit out of it. All right, let's go. Next one. Bucks at Panthers. We talked about this Bucks defense, 31st against QBs, 26th against running backs, 27th against receivers, 28th against tight ends. Carolina, not so good either. They're 27th against QBs, dead last against running backs. They're 11th against receivers, surprisingly, and they're dead last against tight ends. So what say you, guys you like and don't like?
It's going to be the shake and bake show again. The Bucks, their offense is so much fun, but as you saw last week, there's just so many mouths to feed that somebody's going to starve. Unfortunately, that person to starve was Cade Otton. And I don't think it's going to get much different in this game. I think we really see the comeback for Mike Evans. I'm predicting a 2-touchdown game for Mike Evans this week. And, I think Bucky Irving, like I said last week, is slowly taking over this role as the alpha running back. But never fear, I still think Rashad Evans is okay because he does play as a receiving running back very well. So he can play kind of like that outside guy, it's kind of like they're both a part of Christian McCaffrey, but you got to split Christian McCaffrey apart to get them. You know what I mean? Because one's really good at receiving, one's really good at rushing. But I think they're both going to be really good when it comes to this matchup. I think that this is going to be a game that Baker kind of buries it with his running backs. He gets probably out to a good lead with a couple of touchdowns to Mike Evans. Then he kind of just lets Bucky Irving and Rashad White bury it. So while I do like Carolina, I like the story. I wouldn't start Bryce Young. Chuba Hubbard is definitely a start. And then as far as the receiving core go, my favorite guy, Jatavian Sanders, is out for this week. So it's going to be tough on that one. I know a lot of people have been picking up David Moore. I don't know why you're picking up David Moore. Seems kind of like a 1-week thing. If you really want my take on who you should pick up in the wide receiver room, it's a guy named Jalen Coker. But I don't even know if you think he's questionable right now. I don't know if he's going to be out there. He just seems like he has the most talent.
Yeah, I kind of disagree.
It's actually a good option too.
I disagree a tad. You're good on the Bryce Young. You're staying away from now. Mind you, there's no bye weeks this week, so there's way better options. However, you've seen this Bucks defense; they are not good. Like I want to get anyone starting against this Bucks defense. So Chuba Hubbard, absolutely. But I totally agree with you about Mike Evans, Baker, Cade Otton. Line them up, and it wasn't even just slowly taking over. It is taking over with Bucky Irving. So I like that take as well. All right, let's go to a really exciting game. I'm excited about this one. Philly at Baltimore. Philly against fantasy QBs are 7th, 4th against running backs, 10th against receivers, and 3rd against tight ends. The Baltimore Ravens, 29th against QBs. This ain't Joe Papa's Ravens. They're 9th against running backs, but they're dead last against receivers and 23rd against tight ends. So what say you guys? You like and don't like?
So I'm not going to say anything about Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley. Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, obviously you're starting those guys. It's automatic, right? It's across the board, automatic. As far as the rest of the units go, Devonta Smith being a little bit shaky about whether he's going to go or not. You made that great analogy about when you were in the military, whether you were gonna burn it out yourself. So I can only imagine what he's feeling about that. It could be another Julio Jones situation where he has to come off the field for 2 plays, come back on, burn it out again, come off the field again. But I will say AJ Brown is 100% a lock in this game. And if Devonta Smith doesn't go, it does become a little bit troublesome up top because Dallas Goedert has been the epitome of like up and down. He has sometimes amazing games, sometimes not so amazing games. I would probably play him in this one because there's going to be a need for an explosive player in this one. Because I do think, regardless, I didn't say I was going to say his name, I think Saquon's going to struggle in this game. You can't just go that hard and then go against a team that's good against the run and just be like, all right, I'm going to bust out a 150-yard nut right now. That's not going to happen, everybody. We need to temper our expectations on that one. But yeah, I mean, it'd be nice if they had another solid guy. Like if Jahan Dotson was actually going to live up to his first round pick status, that would be nice. But as far as it goes, I'd probably go with Brown, Goddard, safe bets. Devontae Smith, leave him on your bench. And the Ravens, man, this is tough because as far as I know, I want to start Rashad Bateman. Big play. You should just call him Big Play Bateman because this guy comes out in big games and makes big plays. And you look at him and you go, wow, where's this been like your entire career, dude? All you had to do is stay healthy? Shit. I want more of this. Zay Flowers, interesting play. Andrews is automatic now. I regret saying Andrews is a ghost now because this dude is auto-fucking-matic. And then, Justice Hill is the last guy that I'm like, is he worthy of a flex? And that's where I'm going to toss it to you because I don't have the answer on that one.
I do because I agree with your Well, I mean, I don't necessarily agree with the Saquon take. I think he'll still have a good game, but I do think Derrick Henry is going to struggle in this matchup because I do like the Eagles front seven. They get after. They're fourth against running back, so I don't think you're going to see a big Derrick Henry game in this matchup. So I say no on Justice Hill unless he's starting to get into a PPR formats, getting a 6-7 receptions. That's basically all you're going to see out of Justice Hill in this matchup. I think I'm really high on the Eagles in this game, and I think with the Ravens struggling so much on defense, I think they're going to be in for a long day with Jalen Hurts. And it doesn't matter age era. And to be fair to Dallas Goddard, Jalen Hurts missed him in a wide open touchdown pass. Which definitely wasn't Goddard's fault. He was right there. It just went sailing over his damn head. I think Goddard gets off in this game, especially if there's no Devonta Smith. And you may want to bring Jahan Dotson as a flex play. I think they're starting to connect a little bit. So I like Jahan a little bit in this matchup, but I do love your Bateman take. As you were saying that, it just reminded me like Robert Horry, just that guy. He's just always with the big games. This guy just steps up and makes big plays, and it's so true with Bateman. All right, let's go to the 49ers at the Buffalo Bills. So the 49ers, 9th against QBs, 23rd against running backs, are 9th against receivers, and 6th against tight ends. The Bills, 8th against QBs, 30th against running backs, 8th against receivers, and 16th against tight ends. This is the Sunday Night Delight. Tell me, guys, you like and don't like.
I like the Buffalo defense. So, as of right now, we have Trent Williams and Nick Bosa for sure out, which is no. Actually, I'm sorry. We have Trent Williams, Aaron Banks, who's the left guard, and Nick Bosa out. So it's tough for me to say this, but don't start Christian McCaffrey and expect much. Like, I know you've got to start him because, he's your first pick, but it's going to be tough. That left side has been the savior of this entire team's run game, and both of them are down. It's going to be tough because Pooney, the right guard, is injured too. So when I say start the Buffalo defense, I mean start the Buffalo defense because they might get 12 sacks in this game. And I'm not even joking about that. This is a straight face 49ers fan saying, go ahead and start that Buffalo defense. They're going to have a big impact in this game. If I were to say anything about garbage time, because unfortunately I think that's what it's going to resort to, I think you can garbage time play Ricky Pearsall, George Kittle. Brock Purdy should be a go for this game, but if he's not, don't get either Brandon Allen or Josh Dobbs. Brandon Allen sucks, and Josh Dobbs, they won't even try to have Josh Dobbs out there. I don't know why, but when one of your backups sucks that bad, you should definitely go to the other guy. And then on the Bills side, this defense is so weak right now. Just start everybody. I'm not even kidding you. Just start everybody, all the way to Dawson Knox. Last week I called Tucker Kraft scoring on us, and it's not because I was some freaking genie. It's because I knew that there was nobody to guard him. We found out this week that Fred Warner's been playing 9 straight weeks on a broken ankle.
So I'm just gonna say, not to disagree with you all night, but I do like Christian McCaffrey. I do like Christian McCaffrey in this matchup, and it's because the Bills are so bad against running backs. Not necessarily, I still see him having a decent day on the ground, but you can also see them throwing to him as well, especially if the Bills are, thinking the same as you and wanting to throw a bunch of blitzes. You can see them trying to slow that down with little passes to McCaffrey out of the backfield. So I still like McCaffrey in this, but I do think agree with everybody on the Buffalo Bills side. I just think right now this defense, plus you're coming west to East Coast, you got that going on as well. Could be some weather in this one also, is what I've been hearing. So, which goes back to the running back. So I think James Cook could be a great play in this one also. All right, let's finish up with the game I could skip on Monday night. The Browns at the Broncos. So the Browns against fantasy QBs are 21st, 7th against running backs, 24th, against receivers, 25th against tight ends. Broncos 4th against QBs, 16th against running backs, 5th against receivers, and 10th against tight ends. So what say you guys you like and don't like?
Wow. So this is our Monday night game. Whew. We need to start flexing these games.
the Monday night non-delight.
All right. Bo Nix is still a guy that I want to ride with because he has that upside of being a good runner as well. Courtland Sutton. If there's anybody who's going to break loose, it's Courtland Sutton. But also, Devon Vele. Courtland Sutton's going to draw the hardest task because he's going to have Denzel Ward, who's a hell of an all-pro corner. So Devon Vele has been a great guy to kind of take up that middle space where they would have a good tight end be. And, just about every single time he goes out there and catches about 6 to 7 balls for about 60 yards or so. So an excellent PPR play for anybody out there who wants unspectacular 13 points. And it is what it is, I'll take those 13 points any day.
Unspectacular.
Unspectacular. Javonte Williams, Audric Estime, do you want to talk about this one?
No, yeah, that's Fred. I'll say the same thing I said that day. I'm still going with the guy you're paying the money to. So that's the guy I'd be riding personally. I like your Courtland Sutton take. He's been very consistent. But I do understand he will be drawing the best corner, but again, I don't think that really matters because Courtland Sutton's just been money for the last few weeks. On Cleveland side, this is where I think it's how can you not like Jameis Winston? You know what I mean? But I feel like he's also kind of like the Kirk Cousins, but maybe not as good, but he also has the roller coaster rides of having good games and then having non-ones. So I feel like this one is going to be that one Jameis game where you're going to see 6 interceptions. Although he may throw the ball down the field quite a bit, I think you're going to see a lot of picks coming from Jameis in this one. And I think the Broncos win pretty easy, but we'll see. And
they always talk about people being compared to Brett Favre. Jameis Winston is the best comparison to Brett Favre ever because he can make you love and hate him so much on any given day. Because, think about it. Brett Favre was so beloved in the league that nobody ever talks about the fact that he has the interception record. They just talk about the fact that he had the TD record for so long, right? But at the same time, Jameis is the same way. It's like when Jameis has a good game, everybody's like, oh, I want to rock with Jameis all day long. And then when he has a bad game, they're like, man, fuck Jameis.
No.
He's just he is the Brett Favre experience all wrapped in one. I can't say it any better than that. He's so good, but he's so bad at the same time.
No one talks about the interception record. No one talks, about all of, and no one talks about him sending dick pics to college girls either. I mean, this is like, although I will say though, Jameis Winston did steal some crab legs here in Florida State one time at Publix. So, but no one can talk about that either. He's reformed now, right? All right. So, listen, we appreciate you guys tuning in. Us on Friday. Don't forget, of course, as always, wake up with us on Sunday. We'll be breaking everything on down, doing a lot of picks. We got Brian in from Ninja Liz Podcast. We're going to do some money line bets. We got ultimate DFS lineups. We got it all on Sunday morning. So wake up with us, 8 a.m. Get ready for your football Sunday with us. And before we leave tonight, we will leave you with, of course, our boy, Mr. Mallard. Not Andrew LeDuc, not in studio, but always willing to contribute. On Friday night, Mr. Mallard visit us. I think this is on Thanksgiving. So we got a Thanksgiving sophistication station. Let's check it out.
Yeah, there's new land over there. It's like a classy place over there in celebration of Thanksgiving. Let's go search for our newest winners to help us get into the playoffs, this final push. Let's start with Baker Mayfield in a beautiful matchup against Carolina. We just saw Patrick Mahomes finally last week look like Patrick Mahomes against this Carolina defense. Baker Mayfield should do the same thing, especially now that he has his top option back in Mike Evans, who is the second start for us. Mike Evans, I want to see him get back on track here. I feel like this is a must start. They're going to force it to him to try to get him going so that they can be ready for their own home stretch of the season here. So Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans right there. And then in a nice division matchup between the Bengals and the Steelers, Chase Brown, who has been basically, outside of Jamar Chase, the best option to score a touchdown on that Cincinnati offense. Give me Chase Brown in the division matchup against the Steelers. I know the Steelers defense is good, but Chase Brown has been able to do it in the air, on the ground, all around. So we get Chase Brown in there, get Baker Mayfield in there, and get Mike Evans in there. Work off that Thanksgiving turkey and enjoy your win. Catch you. Stay classy.
If he were to punch you in the face, you would have to fight off the strong urge to thank him.
Thank you indeed, Andrew LeDuc. All right, guys. Well, we are out again. Check us out on Sunday and wake up with us. From us to you, we are out.